An undruggable disease is now treatable with targeted therapy. After 40 years of development, a pancreatic cancer treatment is now hitting its stride. Recently, a video of a standing ovation at the 2026 American Society of Clinical Oncology conference in Chicago was shared on X by doctors and scientists across the world. This was an unusual sight for a medical conference where researchers were applauding for a graph that was presented by Brian M. Bulpin of Dana-Farber Cancer Institute in Boston, who had led the landmark trials in pancreatic cancer treatment. Revolution Medicine's pancreatic cancer drug, daraxonrasib, had just delivered the kind of results scientists had been chasing for decades. Doubling of survival in patients suffering from medicine's most deadliest cancers. In a phase 3 clinical trial involving 500 patients suffering from metastatic pancreatic cancer, daraxonrasib had doubled the overall survival from 6.7 months to 13.2 months and reducing the risk by 60%. Daraxonrasib is the latest breakthrough in cancer research's longest pursuits. First linked to human tumors in 1982, KRAS became one of oncology's most notorious targets. Through the 1980s and 2000s, scientists knew that KRAS sat at the center of the tumor growth, but yet every attempt to target it failed. Decades of academic research into KRAS chemistry finally paved the way to find a strategy to shut down this protein. Revolution Medicine converted this insight into daraxonrasib, which has delivered the most promising results ever seen in pancreatic cancer treatment. It is now available for patients whose cancers have progressed after chemotherapy. There are no early signs of this disease. By the time patients realize the clinical symptoms like jaundice or abdominal pains, cancer has already spread to other organs. Stephanie Dugan, who is the Associate Professor of Immunology at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, said that in most cases, surgery is not an option after the disease has spread. And even when it is possible, it is not curative. Much of this unchecked cell growth seen in pancreatic cancer is driven by mutations in KRAS. Normally, KRAS acts like a switch, turning the cell growth on and off. But when this is mutated, KRAS is permanently jammed into on position. Unlike many proteins which have pockets on their surface, KRAS is relatively smooth, which gives very less for the drugs to hold on to and turn off this protein. This is where daraxonrasib comes in. Rather than attaching itself to the KRAS, it binds to a molecule cyclophilin A inside the cells, and together they latch onto the KRAS to shut it down. For patients with advanced pancreatic cancer, the standard treatment has been chemotherapy, which is physically and emotionally grueling and has side effects like hair loss, nausea, and insomnia. Jewel Merry, who is a Malayalam actress and TV anchor, said that her thyroid cancer treatment took a toll on her career. She had lost her voice for 6 months and her left arm did not function well for quite some time. For Swapna Srinivasan, life changed in various ways. After radiotherapy for her thyroid cancer treatment, she was restricted from even seeing her son. She had to stop breastfeeding, due to which she developed inflammation and high fever. Advancement in cancer treatment, therefore, for patients also means holding on to life during and after treatment and less burden on caregivers. Even daraxonrasib comes with some of its challenges. It can cause skin rashes and painful mouth sores. Yet, in the study, researchers found that patients who were undergoing daraxonrasib treatment discontinued the treatment, and these were only 1.2% patients, while patients undergoing chemotherapy, there were 11.2% of them who stopped the treatment due to its intolerable side effects. Stephanie Dugan said that there is a possibility that after these ongoing trials, they might completely stop the use of chemotherapy as first-line treatments in pancreatic cancer. Daraxonrasib is part of the larger shift that is underway in cancer care. Researchers are moving from one-size-fits-all approach to personalized treatments, longer remission periods, and less taxing therapies. Sean Joseph, who's a surgical oncologist at Esther MedCity Kochi, said, "This last decade has seen one of the most significant transformations in cancer care, and many of these newer therapies often come with more manageable side effects compared to chemotherapy." This move towards personalized treatments is also reshaping cancer care for common cancers such as breast cancers that affect more than 2.3 million women every year. Recently, Roche, world's largest biotechnology company, received priority review status for giredestrant, a new breast cancer drug that reduces recurrence by 30% compared to chemotherapy. About 70% of breast cancer cases are detected at early stage, yet up to one-third of these patients experience recurrence during or after chemotherapy, and many of them even discontinue the treatment because of its side effects. Aditya Bardia, who's a professor of medicine at University of California, Los Angeles, and principal investigator of giredestrant, says almost after 25 years, this new medicine has demonstrated superiority over existing endocrine therapies in curative settings. Researchers are also making headway into rare cancer types, and they're reaching smaller patient groups who previously had limited treatment options. In April, sivabertinib, an oral drug designed to target HER2 protein, a key marker used to classify and treat certain tumors, was approved for the treatment in the UK and is under fast-track approval from the US Food and Drug Administration. In the clinical trials led by researchers at the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center, around 70% of patients treated with sivabertinib saw their tumors shrink or disappear. This targeted oral therapy developed by Bayer is now available to patients who for years have relied on chemotherapy or immunotherapy, which have either failed or have stopped working eventually. Brennan Spiegel, who is director of Seda Sinai Center for Virtual Medicine and Health System Transformations in Los Angeles, said, "We are entering into a new era of drug development," and he thinks that there will be more and more announcements of highly designer targeted drugs that will be more effective and less toxic than current therapies. Alongside developing precision drugs, scientists are also focused on making existing therapies work better. One of the biggest successes in cancer treatment is immunotherapy. It involves collecting specific immune cells from a patient's body, reprogramming them in the lab to hunt the cancer cells better and destroy them. This approach has shown success in certain blood cancers, but scientists are struggling to make it work against solid cancers like lung cancers, and there it only works for 20 to 40% of patients. For researchers, improving the odds may be just as important as developing entirely new drugs. Stephen and Simeonides, who is a consultant medical oncologist at Edinburgh Cancer Center, said there are many reasons why immunotherapy does not work for every patient. Some tumors may recruit immunosuppressive cells that will actively dampen immune systems, and others will hide themselves from the immune system. Simeonides is among the investigators testing Grave Wolf Therapeutics experimental drugs GRWD5769 that could improve the efficiency of immunotherapy drugs in the patients with cervical, bladder, liver, bowel, lung, head and neck cancers. GRWD5769 drug helps the cancer cells become more visible to immunotherapy drugs, allowing them to destroy these cancer cells. Early results from the trials showed tumors shrinking by at least 30% in 6 of the world's most common cancers. Researchers hope that these drugs would make immunotherapy work for more patients for longer time. Beyond better treatments, researchers are getting ahead of cancer itself, detecting it earlier, sometimes before even symptoms appear. Evidence increasingly shows that detecting cancer earlier can dramatically improve outcomes. Satish Kumar A., who's clinical hematologist and hemato-oncologist at Manipal Hospital, Bangalore, said that early stage requires less intensive treatment, fewer treatment cycles, and a much higher chance of cure is available. Once a cancer has spread, the goal of the treatment often shifts from cure to controlling the disease, prolonged survival, and maintaining the quality of life while relieving symptoms. A team of 80 researchers working across the countries has now identified a set of proteins in the blood that may be able to predict lung cancers 5 years before the diagnosis, giving doctors a much earlier window to intervene. Tej Pandya of the Francis Crick Institute in London, who is an author of the study, said the biggest gap in lung cancer screening right now is the reach. Low dose CT scan is largely offered to older, heavy smokers, which misses out on a large number of people who never smoked. The team validated 14 protein signatures in 8 data sets from across the world, including people who had never smoked. Further, their lab experiments showed that these proteins increased when a specific inflammatory pathway was activated, one that is activated by either air pollution or smoking. The finding hints at a future in which doctors may not only detect cancer earlier but also intervene before it develops. Interception is one goal of the future of cancer cure, but ensuring the cancers which have already been treated can be detected before they recur is also another goal. More than 50% of bladder cancer patients develop tumors within 5 years of their treatment. Massachusetts Institute of Technology researchers have developed a new method to regularly monitor these patients. In a study published in Nature Nanotechnology recently, researchers used a catheter coated with nanosensors to detect tiny amounts of protein produced by cancer cells in the bladder. These sensors can detect cancer signals in the bladder before they get diluted by the urine and slip detection. This method uses carbon nanotubes which naturally glow under light. Over the past decade, Michael Strano, professor of chemical engineering at MIT, and his team has been developing and refining ways to coat these carbon nanotubes with specially designed polymers. In the presence of target molecules, these nanotubes produce detectable optical signals. Bladder cancer sensors are another advanced application of this work. This technology is about 50,000 times more sensitive than the current methods that can detect recurrence of bladder cancers. The team is now working towards smaller, more practical version of imaging system that can be used in doctors' offices. In future, such sensors could be more cost-effective alternative and less invasive ways to monitor recurrence, potentially reducing the need of biopsies and cystoscopies during follow-up care. Clinicians are optimistic about the direction of cancer care, anticipating a future in which cancers are diagnosed earlier, treatments are more personalized, and cancer is less disruptive to patients' lives. While there is a growing excitement around these advances, developing new drugs and treatments often take more than a decade, and many promising therapies and detection tools still require larger trials and stronger evidence before they become routine care. Satish Kumar says, not every breakthrough is a cure. Despite significant progress, most stage 4 solid cancers remain difficult to cure. Though only a fraction of discoveries ultimately make into clinical practice, researchers say the way cancer treatment is evolving is fundamentally changing. Scientists say that it is an incredible time in oncology and hopefully will lead to cures for previously incurable disease.